Hey, hello. I have the feeling we haven't talked for ages. I was super busy, but today, that's why an upcoming video, Dragonfly Create Part 2, we need to move forward. But before we jump in, a quick shout out to my channel members who make this video happen. So we have Combo45 already in for 3 months. We have Mohsin Hassan also for 2 months. Rafael F. Giretta for 2 months. And Urisheng Yang joined a month ago. Hey, thank you so much. This really helps me to keep this channel alive and to produce these videos. Rafael actually, he sent me a nice email and some suggestions, and I will take this on board for sure and think about it, and hope to produce videos according to that. I think it's a very interesting angle, and it could help a lot of people. All right, so without further ado, I will jump. Oh yes, if you want to become a member, please check out my channel page, and yeah, check it out. Sign up if you want. Channel members always have the advantage that they will be prioritized when they have a question or if they have a topic they want to discuss about. Without further ado, let's jump right into Dragonfly Create Part 2. Alright, so I cleaned up here a bit. I just removed the visualization. We checked if the building has a top and a bottom, or like a ground level and the roof. We don't need to look at that at the moment. Today we look at this portion of the Create panel, which is the Facade Parameters, windows and shading parameters. In order to make this even more simpler, I will just hide these other buildings here, and we can look at it later, but let's focus on one element first, and then we'll see how far we get. So just to make it more easy, I'll just turn this off, and also this one. And we are left with the buildings here, where I also turned one block off, which was this one. So let's keep just one building block. Alright, so as you remember, we used the building footprint to create these buildings. We gave them a certain height for the different floor levels, and we created these buildings. One word to program. This works exactly like Honeybee, where we actually use the Honeybee lists, the Honeybee list programs component to search for programs, and the same also applies to construction sets. That's why I will not go through that at the moment. Just go back to the Honeybee lessons and check it out. I was talking about this already in the past. And to be fair, I am not a specialist really. For me, it's really about how to put these things together, and by doing so, learning about it. But I will just keep that for now as it is. This is just the default levels in here, and let's jump into the facade parameters. So as you can see, we have here Dragonfly Apply Facade Parameters. That tool is actually only here to apply whatever windows and shading we are specifying. We can put in here quite a lot of stuff. So we can put in buildings, stories, or room 2Ds. That's what we discussed last time. There are different ways on how to build these buildings with different components, either just from a ground surface, or from solids, or from stories, or from rooms. We just use what we have here. We have the building here. I will also remove this. It annoys me a bit. So let's just keep this for now. Also, this is actually not, we don't really need that, just to visualize it. So let's have this all out of the way. So this is a tool where we separate the top and bottom. It doesn't really matter where we put this here. We can put it here, or we can put it afterwards. But as soon as we plug this in here, we need to make sure that we also continue with what we changed. So that means that whatever comes out here goes out here into the buildings. So then it takes all the changes into account in the new model. Let's keep it like this, and let's look at the parameters. So there are some very simple parameters, and then we will start with this one. Dragonfly simple window ratio parameter. So there was something very similar in Honeybee. And we can plug this in here, and it immediately goes red because we need to specify a ratio. We can do it by adding something which is between 0 and 1, a number between 0 and 1, and that just creates the 0, like this 0.5 would be 50% of the facade would be glazing. So the problem now, we can't see it. Even if we put in here the visualize all element, we can't see it. So that's a bit annoying, and I don't know why they don't want to provide something similar as in Honeybee. Probably because they just use the workaround, which is turning your Dragonfly model into a Honeybee model. That's a workaround, and it works fairly good. So we can just plug this in here. So this is the tool where we can use the model and turn it into a Honeybee model. Now we need a toggle, and we can put this on to true, and it already works. So now we have Honeybee models, and with that we can visualize as we did it before. We visualized visualize all, or we visualize by type. That's what we're gonna use, just to show you that we actually have all the components there. I'll turn this off. Let's see what else do we need to turn off. So we can now go in here and use the mesh component. Just plug it in here, and we see, because whatever comes out of here is meshes. So this tool basically translates whatever is in the model into meshes, so we can actually look at it. Interior walls, there are no interior walls. There are roofs, there are ceilings, exterior floors, yes. Interior floors, yes. Air walls, no. Apertures, yes. So we can see the apertures, and maybe let's put on the walls as well, and the roofs. Okay, there's something I need to add from last time. So I think that's good that we actually visualize that, because it feels like something was wrong. Okay, let's read here. Boolean to note whether all mid-level stories with non-unity multipliers should be separated into 2 or 3 stories. This means that the top of each unique story will have outdoor exposed roofs when no room to these are sensed above a given room. Okay, so yeah, we want to set that to true. So then now it makes sense. Now it's correct. If we now, for example, hide the roofs, it should be actually, yeah, that works. Something to add from from the last lesson. I haven't expected that. So now the problem is that we have windows inside here. That also shows that we have a thinking problem from the last time, where we actually cannot really have all these buildings next to each other just like that. This doesn't work. But we could have the ones which have the similar kind of conditions next to each other. In these cases, actually in all of these cases, they will have only one side with windows, and we could, for example, use all the ones which have. We would need to specify it more basically. So we would probably create more of these items, these buildings, to basically tackle all these different parameters. So for example, this one, this building and this building, and also this one, they would be similar, the same height. They have neighbors on both sides, So they would be probably in one category. So we can do that. So we can, let's just choose one type. Sorry, this was not what I want. So we choose one type which works the same way. So that would be this here, these three buildings. So let's continue with these ones. The other ones are different conditions because this has this would have windows on that side and on the right side, and this has windows on an opposite direction. And this is a building with less stories. So we need to be careful with this. And then they all have neighbors. Now there could be even here an issue where, yeah, this is taller. Okay, that works. So that's fine. We can work with this. So, okay. Now we set this Windows ratio, but the problem is it would just create like a percentage of 20% or more, 50%, 100% glazing on all sides. That doesn't work. So what we need to do is we need to go into Honeybee and get this tool. It's called Facade Parameters. Weirdly, it's also called Facade Parameters. But yeah. So with that we can specify which side has how much percentage, or what is the ratio. So if we put this in here, now we can test north side. Okay, that we already hit the right side. That would be north, so that means we can specify the windows on that side. Let's say we have 50%. So that would be a very simple way to apply the windows. Let's look at the other ratios here, the other tools. There is also one which is called repeating window ratio parameters. So this is, let's see, let's just see what it does. So we can put the ratio here. It divides basically it just doesn't apply like a ratio with one window. It actually separates these. Again, we have 50%. We could improve that, increase that, and there's more to specify. We can specify here the vertical separation. Okay, that you can add different separation values. Yeah, it's just divides. Of course, it's useful to be very specific. So if I place 5 in here, then we pretty much had what we had before. So that means the windows is 5 meters. Then you can make it smaller. You can also specify the height, but of course it all has limitations based on the building. The windows height 0.5, then it divides it like this. 1 meter, let's see what happens. Not much. 2 meters. Yeah, it's just a matter of playing with it, I guess. Again, it needs to be on the north because we cannot have windows on that side. So that's another way to deal with the windows. Another way, again, here is to use single window parameter. Let's see how that works. That doesn't work with the ratio. It works in a different way. So the width and height and still height. So it creates one. Oh yeah, typical. Of course, we need to have. We need to provide again a number for the ones which has an underscore at the beginning. These are the mandatory inputs. Now I created one window on each side with 1 by 1. Could be more. There's also the still height, so you can change that if you want. It's in that case probably better to apply it to a face rather than the whole building. So again, we have this problem here that we cannot specify, that we cannot select which side. So it's probably better to explode the whole model if needed, and then apply the window if you want to use that tool. I would rather stick with this one. Or, so the other option, the last option here, is detailed window. That works a bit different. It actually applies it directly. Mistake. mistake from my side, also happens. I can't use this. I can't use this with the building. I need to use that only with rooms. So in that case, we could go here to this model. So let's go back here. Let's reinstate what we had. It's based on rooms. It's actually based on 2D rooms, on room 2Ds. That's how they call it. Now we could, oh, this is not what I wanted. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We can place this here and just put the room in here. Now it should work. Yeah, it doesn't work with, it's funny because it says here a list of B-wraps that will be added to the input. And it's actually just a surface. So I added a surface here. It needs to be in the same plane as the wall, and it shouldn't touch any edge or any corner. That's important. And then if I place this in here, it turns on again because it didn't calculate because there was a problem. And it doesn't really matter, I think, where you put it. Now if I turn this off, you see that the window was placed correctly. What is strange though is that it doesn't apply to the rest. I think this is, if I'm not completely wrong, it's a bug. Well, let's try to maybe add it here. If I add it here, it should actually apply to all the. I think it's a bug, to be honest. Because what's the point then? You know. Okay, I need to run it after the adjacency. Definitely, it didn't work. So I need to run it after the adjacency. That's fine. But as you can see, we actually have here. We have this quite huge tower, and they all miss the window. So there, I'm not sure. But of course, you can always build the rooms separately. I mean, that really just to have this tool that you can specify the windows. It's really to make it more accurate to a certain building. Then on the other hand, why not use Honeybee? Of course, it depends what you want to calculate, but I would probably stick with, to make assumptions on a bigger scale, with more models or with more buildings, then the ratio should be actually quite okay to work with. Again, Windows, if you still want to explore that a bit more with specific window shapes, go into the Honeybee lesson. It's gonna be very similar. It's very similar. You just place the basically your windows wherever you want, and then you run this tool. However, again, you can't. It seems like you can't run the multiplier for some reason. So it applies everything here, but then not on the other ones. What else could I try here? Let's see if maybe the building separation helps here. Let's see. Okay. Wait, let's see. So there's clearly something wrong. Yeah, it seems like we run into a problem I can't solve at the moment. So everything works fine except this, and I'm not sure if it's actually just a bug and it just doesn't show. Maybe there's something wrong with the translation of the model. Maybe the whole thing with the multiply is not 100% understood by the translation from the Dragonfly to Honeybee. That could be because it has actually nothing to do with the window. I can apply a window and it's everywhere. It appears everywhere, but these levels are not shown. And Currently I'm not clear why that is, because they are here. I think there's a problem with the translation. But if you know, then please let us know. Let everybody know. I will also research a bit. That's pretty much it for today. I would just keep it here. Otherwise, the videos get too long. The next video should be fairly soon, where we cover these 4 items, and then we are pretty much done, because then we just check out this. We already pretty much covered most of it. We just go through very quickly. We go through the serialized stuff, which we also touched already on, which is the Dragonfly to Honeybee. So you already can think of what that means here. It's actually very similar to Honeybee and Honeybee Energy and so on. But then we jump into the more interesting stuff, the energy modeling and also the alternative weather stuff. I'm most interested in this thing. All right, cool. I think we're getting there. Now we found some kind of inconsistency. Maybe it's my fault. I don't know. This is the problem always with the Ladybugtools. Sometimes you're not sure if it's a bug or if it's just wrong, putting things together wrongly. But yeah, let's see. Maybe somebody has the answer. See you in the next video.